Forget what you think you know about 80s sci-fi. This wasn't just a decade of flashy lasers and rubber suits. It was the era when American sci-fi movies rewired our brains, redefined pop culture, and changed the entire language of storytelling. But how did these movies shape the world you live in right now? And which of these classics still hold the power to blow your mind decades later? Stay with us, because the answers are stranger and bolder than you might guess. Blade Runner. Blade Runner didn't just predict the future, it burned it into the global imagination. Ridley Scott's 1982 masterpiece transformed a rainy, neon-soaked Los Angeles into a living, breathing world that felt both ancient and new. Harrison Ford stars as Rick Deckard, a burnt-out cop tracking down bioengineered replicants. But the real magic is how every frame drips with atmosphere and doubt. Are the bad guys actually bad? Is Deckard even human? These questions are woven into the story's DNA, daring viewers to question their own reality. The production was a storm of creative chaos, ceaseless rain machines, towering sets built with brutal precision, and a director determined to get every detail right. At first, audiences and critics didn't know what to make of it, but Blade Runner's shadow only grew longer over time, influencing everything from The Matrix to Ghost in the Shell and the entire cyberpunk genre. Its visuals shaped fashion, architecture, and music videos for decades. The Vangelis soundtrack turned synths into the sound of the future. The film's legacy is bigger than the plot. It's about the questions that keep you up at night. What does it mean to be alive? What makes us human? By refusing to give easy answers, Blade Runner became a cinematic touchstone. It's more than a film. It's a mood, a vision, and a warning. Decades later, no one has ever built a future that feels this real or this haunting. The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back flipped the script on everything audiences thought they knew about sequels. Instead of rehashing Star Wars, director Irvin Kershner dove into darker territory, raising the emotional stakes and taking risks that paid off in spades. Luke Skywalker's journey isn't a victory lap, it's a crash course in loss and self-discovery, culminating in the jaw-dropping "I am your father" twist that shattered expectations and cemented Darth Vader as the ultimate villain. The production team went wild with special effects. Stop-motion AT-ATs trudge across icy wastelands, model spaceships dodge asteroids, and puppetry brings Yoda to unforgettable life. This film dared to leave its heroes battered and the galaxy in chaos. Han Solo frozen in carbonite. That's not a happy ending. It's a gut punch. At the time, critics were divided, but fans knew they'd witnessed something legendary. The Empire Strikes Back didn't just expand the Star Wars universe, it deepened it, showing that sci-fi could be emotionally rich, unpredictable, and packed with genuine peril. Every darker, more serious sequel since has borrowed from its blueprint. Its legacy is everywhere. From pop culture references to the storytelling DNA of modern blockbusters, The Empire Strikes Back redefined what a sci-fi sequel could be. It challenged audiences to expect more from their heroes and from the genre itself. The result is a film that's more than a middle chapter. It's the gold standard for every saga that came after. The Terminator? In 1984, The Terminator crashed onto the screen and immediately rewrote the rules for sci-fi action. James Cameron's relentless vision pitted Sarah Connor, an ordinary woman, against a nightmarish future, one where machines rise up and humanity's only hope is a time-traveling soldier. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator is pure terror in sunglasses, an unstoppable force that barely says a word but dominates every scene. The film's production was all guerrilla tactics and bold creativity. Cameron used practical effects, miniatures, and innovative camera tricks to bring the story to life on a modest budget. The iconic endoskeleton, laser-sighted pistol, and pounding synth soundtrack turned the Terminator into instant iconography. But beneath the action, there's a haunting meditation on fate and technology gone haywire. Sarah Connor's transformation from victim to fighter became a template for future heroines, while the film's bleak, tech-driven vision has echoed through everything from The Matrix to Black Mirror. Critics at first underestimated it, but audiences knew they were witnessing something special. The Terminator wasn't just a box office hit, it was a seismic shift, proving that smart, intense sci-fi could be made without massive studio backing. The famous catchphrase, "I'll be back," entered the cultural lexicon, and the film's impact spawned an entire franchise. Decades later, The Terminator still feels urgent, fresh, and a little bit dangerous, a reminder that the future isn't written, and neither are we. Back to the Future. Back to the Future didn't just make time travel fun, it made it feel possible. Robert Zemeckis' 1985 classic launched Marty McFly, a skateboarding teenager, into the past, where he nearly erases himself by accidentally interfering with his parents' first meeting. Michael J. Fox's manic energy, paired with Christopher Lloyd's wild-eyed Doc Brown, created movie magic that's never been duplicated. The film's production was packed with behind-the-scenes drama. Fox was cast only after weeks of shooting with another actor, and the crew worked double shifts to accommodate his TV schedule. The DeLorean, now the world's coolest time machine, almost wasn't in the script at all. But the lightning bolt that powers Marty's journey home became one of the most iconic moments in movie history. Back to the Future isn't just about clever writing and slick effects. It's about family, second chances, and believing you can change your destiny, even if it means inventing rock and roll or convincing your dad to stand up for himself. The movie juggles comedy, suspense, and nostalgia without missing a beat. Its influence is everywhere. Jokes about paradoxes, hoverboards, and that unforgettable clock tower scene have seeped into the DNA of pop culture. Few movies deliver as much joy or genuine heart. Back to the Future is more than a trip through time. It's a reminder that the future is what you make it. The ride never gets old. E.T. the Extraterrestrial. E.T. the Extraterrestrial made aliens lovable long before Pixar, and it did it with a simple, irresistible formula: wonder, friendship, and heartbreak. Steven Spielberg spun a story that's both cosmic and deeply personal, with young Elliot finding an abandoned alien and forming a bond that transcends worlds. The entire movie is shot from a kid's eye view, pulling you into a world where grown-ups are clueless and every backyard hides a secret. Spielberg demanded realism from his cast, encouraging improvisation and using clever camera work to keep adults on the fringes. E.T. himself was a marvel of practical effects, operated by puppeteers and designed for maximum expressiveness. John Williams' soaring score tied it all together, squeezing tears out of even the toughest moviegoers. At the box office, E.T. broke records and hearts in equal measure. Critics hailed it as a masterpiece, and kids everywhere tried to build their own homemade communication devices just in case. The flying bike, the glowing finger, and the line, "I'll be right here," all became instant classics. E.T. changed the sci-fi landscape, proving that aliens could be about love and loneliness, not just fear. It inspired a generation of kids on bikes stories and set the gold standard for family sci-fi. Even now, it's a film that makes you believe in magic, and maybe, just maybe, in something out there. Aliens. Aliens didn't just continue the alien story, it turned the entire concept on its head. Where Ridley Scott's original was slow-burning horror, James Cameron's sequel is full-throttle action, doubling down on adrenaline and scale. Sigourney Weaver's Ripley returns, this time leading a squad of heavily armed Marines into the belly of the beast to rescue colonists and face the ultimate nightmare. The set was pure chaos, claustrophobic corridors, gallons of slime, and the constant threat of malfunctioning animatronics. The Alien Queen, a towering mechanical marvel, required a ballet of puppeteers to operate. Cameron pushed the cast hard, turning the Marines into a believable, battle-hardened unit. The result? Scenes that pulse with dread, panic, and bravado. But Aliens is more than just shooting and screaming. Ripley's maternal bond with Newt adds surprising emotional weight. The Marines' bravado crumbles under pressure, making every loss feel real. The blend of practical effects, miniature models, and early computer graphics set a new standard for action cinema. At release, critics and audiences went wild. The film was a box office smash and cemented Ripley as a feminist icon. Every action horror hybrid since has chased its high. Aliens made sequels cool, proved that sci-fi could be raw and emotional, and set the template for 1,000 imitators. 40 years later, it still hits like a pulse rifle. Robocop. Robocop is a satirical grenade disguised as a sci-fi action flick. In a crime-ridden, corporate-dominated Detroit, Officer Alex Murphy is brutally murdered and resurrected as a cybernetic law enforcer, half man, half machine, all business. Paul Verhoeven's vision pulls zero punches, blending graphic violence, biting comedy, and a dystopian view of capitalism run amok. Peter Weller endured endless hours in the unwieldy Robocop suit, moving like a battered tank with a haunted soul. The villains, led by Kurtwood Smith, are gleefully over the top. Between the ultraviolent gunfights, Verhoeven weaves in fake commercials and news broadcasts that hit uncomfortably close to real life. Every scene pops with attitude and visual flair. What could have been mindless spectacle is actually a sharp meditation on identity, justice, and the price of humanity. Robocop is constantly haunted by his lost memories and sense of self, The film is loaded with quotable lines, "Dead or alive, you're coming with me," and moments that are equal parts hilarious and horrifying. Robocop's legacy is everywhere. Sequels, comics, video games, and 1,000 imitators that missed the satire but copied the style. The movie turned dystopian sci-fi into a savage mirror of our own world. Even today, Robocop's blend of action and commentary feels ahead of its time, just as angry, funny, and vital as ever. The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing is paranoia in its purest form, a horror classic wrapped in a sci-fi shell. A team of scientists in Antarctica stumbles onto a shape-shifting alien that can imitate any living being. Suddenly, trust shatters, and the icy base turns into a battleground where anyone could be the enemy. The film's effects, led by genius Rob Bottin, set a new standard. Melting faces, slithering tentacles, and transformations so wild you can't look away. All done with latex, animatronics, and gallons of fake blood. The sense of dread builds relentlessly, powered by Ennio Morricone's minimalist, throbbing score. Audiences in 1982 weren't ready for The Thing. Released during the E.T. era, it flopped, labeled as too bleak and graphic, but over time, critics and fans discovered its brilliance. Today, The Thing is praised for its claustrophobic atmosphere, smart script, and ambiguous ending. No easy answers, just questions that linger. The Thing's influence is huge. Every isolation thriller and who can you trust story owes it a debt. It's more than just creature effects. It's the raw, primal fear of the unknown and the horror of turning on your own. The Thing is a masterclass in tension, proof that sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones wearing a familiar face. Predator. Predator starts as a macho action romp and quickly morphs into survival horror with an alien twist. Arnold Schwarzenegger leads a squad of elite commandos into the jungle, only to become prey for a nearly invisible extraterrestrial hunter. With its infrared vision, advanced weaponry, and a love of trophies, the Predator isn't just another monster, it's the ultimate equalizer. Filming was punishing, actors fainted in the humid Mexican jungle, and the alien suit went through multiple redesigns. Stan Winston's final creature design, with mandibles and dreadlocks, became instantly iconic. The script is loaded with classic one-liners and tension. The get-to-the-chopper moment is pure Schwarzenegger gold. Predator flips the script on action heroes. The big guns and bravado are useless when the hunters become the hunted. The film's pacing is tight, the violence is brutal, and the atmosphere is thick with dread. Director John McTiernan blends horror and action so seamlessly, you don't even notice the shift until it's too late. Critics were mixed, but audiences made it a hit. Predator spawned sequels, comics, and a legion of imitators. Its influence is in every creature feature and tactical shoot-'em-up game since. Predator is the perfect blend of muscle and menace, a movie where survival means becoming smarter, tougher, and a whole lot meaner. Tron. Tron is the digital dream that nobody saw coming. Disney bet big on the future in 1982, with a story about computer programmer Kevin Flynn sucked into the grid, a glowing virtual world where programs battle for supremacy. Jeff Bridges brings Flynn to life with swagger and humor, but the real stars are the visuals. Tron's production was revolutionary. Actors wore white suits on black sound stages, with animators painstakingly adding neon lines, glowing cycles, and wild landscapes frame by frame. The Academy famously refused to nominate it for Best Visual Effects, saying computer animation was cheating, a decision that seems laughable now. At first, Tron left critics and general audiences scratching their heads. But to gamers, hackers, and anyone obsessed with technology, Tron was prophecy, a movie that understood how computers would one day shape our lives. Its look, from light cycles to disc battles, has echoed across decades of films, music videos, and video games. Tron predicted the rise of virtual worlds and the power of digital identity. It's become a cult classic, celebrated by techies and movie fans alike. Every story about living inside a computer, from The Matrix to Ready Player One, owes it a digital salute. Tron is proof that sometimes the wildest ideas become the most lasting. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Few sequels have ever flipped the script as hard as Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. After a lukewarm first outing, Star Trek was on life support, until Ricardo Montalban's Khan burst onto the scene with charisma, vengeance, and that unforgettable bare chest. He's not just a villain, he's a nemesis who burns himself into your brain. The face-off with William Shatner's Captain Kirk is legendary. The actors famously never filmed their scenes together, but the electricity between them is undeniable. This wasn't just another space adventure. It was a story about friendship, loss, and what it means to get old. Director Nicholas Meyer worked with a slashed budget and a skeptical studio, but that only sharpened his focus. He gave Star Trek real stakes. The death of Spock shattered fans. Suddenly, this wasn't a safe universe. The script zings with naval battles and philosophical questions, and James Horner's emotional score tugs at the heart. Wrath of Khan rescued the franchise and established the formula for blockbuster sci-fi sequels. It's been echoed in every hero vs. villain rivalry since. Fans saw themselves in the aging Kirk and cheered as he faced down the past. The emotional impact still lingers, and the final scene is iconic. Without Khan, there might never have been another Trek. Now, every hero's journey through darkness owes a debt to this classic standoff among the stars. The Fly. David Cronenberg's The Fly is a transformation story that's equal parts horror and heartbreak. Scientist Seth Brundle, played with quirky brilliance by Jeff Goldblum, invents a teleportation device, then, through a tragic twist, merges his DNA with a common housefly. What follows isn't just gross-out horror. It's a slow, agonizing mutation that feels painfully real. Goldblum's physical performance, helped by masterful makeup effects, turns Brundle from a charming genius to a grotesque, doomed creature. But the movie isn't just about spectacle. The real gut punch comes from Brundle's relationship with Veronica, played by Gina Davis. As Seth changes, their bond deepens, making every new horror even more tragic. Director Cronenberg keeps the pacing tight and the emotions raw. Every scene is charged with a mix of fascination and dread. The Fly stunned audiences with its inventive special effects, oozing skin, twitching limbs, teeth and nails dropping off. But it's the film's emotional depth that has made it last. Critics called it intelligent horror, and its influence stretches far beyond creature features. It asks, what happens when you lose control of your own body and mind? It's about love, science gone wrong, and facing the unknown inside yourself. Years later, The Fly still sticks with you. It made body horror respectable and heartbreaking. Under the Ooze, it's a film about being human, and that's why it still crawls under your skin. The Running Man. The Running Man takes 80s sci-fi and throws it into overdrive. Set in a future where reality TV is literally deadly, Arnold Schwarzenegger stars as Ben Richards, a man forced to run for his life in a government-run game show, hunted by themed killers for public entertainment. Sound outlandish? Sure, but beneath the neon chaos, this is sharp satire about media manipulation, government lies, and a society addicted to violence as entertainment. Production was famously turbulent, with script changes and director swaps, but the end result is pure 80s mayhem. Schwarzenegger's deadpan one-liners and defiant presence anchor the insanity. The stalkers he faces are cartoonish gladiators, each more ridiculous and dangerous than the last. The set looks like a fever dream, packed with screaming crowds and flashing lights. On its release, critics didn't quite know what to make of it, but audiences understood. The Running Man was ahead of its time. Decades later, its vision of bloodthirsty reality TV and fake news looks disturbingly close to real life. It's been referenced in everything from The Hunger Games to Black Mirror. This film is more than just action and spectacle. It's a warning dressed up in muscles and explosions. The Running Man's influence is everywhere. It's funny, violent, and prophetic, proving the future isn't always as far away as we think. Escape from New York. In Escape from New York, John Carpenter turns Manhattan into a lawless prison and gives us the ultimate anti-hero, Snake Plissken. Kurt Russell's Snake is pure cool, gravelly voiced, eye patch in place, and only in it for himself. When the president crashes into this hellscape, Snake gets blackmailed into a rescue mission with only hours to live. The setup is wild, but the execution is tighter than Snake's grip on his last cigarette. The film's production was all about making chaos look cool. Carpenter and his team used abandoned buildings and real fires to build their post-apocalyptic New York. The supporting cast is a lineup of weird and memorable faces, from Isaac Hayes as a gangster king to Adrienne Barbeau's sharpshooting sidekick. Escape from New York didn't just influence action movies. It invented a new kind of anti-hero. The film's gritty style, electronic score, and dark humor made it a favorite for rebels and outcasts everywhere. Critics were mixed at first, but it didn't matter. Fans made it a cult legend. Decades later, the one man against the world formula is everywhere, and every gritty cityscape owes a debt to Carpenter's vision. Escape from New York isn't just a movie. It's an attitude, a smirk in the face of disaster. Short Circuit. Short Circuit broke all the rules for 80s sci-fi. In an era packed with killer robots and bleak dystopias, this film delivered something totally different, a story about a lovable robot just trying to find his place in the world. Number 5, a military robot zapped to life by a lightning strike becomes a childlike explorer with a knack for mischief and a hunger for knowledge. He's pure curiosity on tank treads. The film's animatronics were ahead of their time. Puppeteers gave Number 5 expressive eyes and playful gestures that made audiences instantly root for him. Steve Guttenberg and Ali Sheedy are the human anchors, but the real star is the robot who'd rather read a book than blow something up. Short Circuit is lighthearted, packed with jokes, and full of warmth. In a decade full of end-of-the-world panic, it dared to suggest that machines could be gentle, funny, and even heroic. It's a film that's more about heart than hardware. Audiences loved it. Number 5 became a pop culture icon, inspiring sequels, toys, and even future lovable robots in film. Critics were split, but fans knew they'd found a new kind of sci-fi hero. Short Circuit's legacy? Robots can be more than cold steel. They can be your best friend. The Last Starfighter. The Last Starfighter is the ultimate wish fulfillment fantasy for every arcade kid of the 80s. Alex Rogan is just an ordinary teenager stuck in a trailer park, dreaming of something bigger. Then he beats the high score on his favorite video game and gets whisked away to fight an intergalactic war because that game was secretly a recruitment tool for alien pilots. Suddenly, the world's most average kid becomes the galaxy's last hope. The film's production pushed boundaries with early computer-generated effects. Spaceships, dogfights, and entire battle scenes were rendered digitally way before that was standard practice. Critics were divided, but for anyone who grew up mashing buttons in a dimly lit arcade, this movie was a revelation. The story balances epic space opera with grounded, relatable heart. Alex's family and friends are funny and real, and his journey is as much about self-belief as saving the universe. The aliens are goofy, the battles are thrilling, and the whole thing is soaked in nostalgia. The Last Starfighter's influence is everywhere, from future video game stories to the belief that ordinary people can be heroes. It paved the way for movies like Ready Player One and inspired countless fans to dream of bigger adventures. Even decades later, it's a reminder that sometimes high scores really can change your life. They Live. They Live is John Carpenter's most subversive punch to the system, a sci-fi action thriller with a satirical twist. When a drifter named Nada discovers a pair of sunglasses that reveal subliminal messages and hidden aliens controlling society, all hell breaks loose. The movie's message? Obey, consume, conform, and beneath the surface, there's always more than meets the eye. Carpenter shot the film on a tight budget, making gritty use of real Los Angeles locations. Pro wrestler Roddy Piper brings streetwise charm and delivers one of the greatest one-liners in movie history. "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick butt, and I'm all out of bubblegum." The film's infamous alley fight lasts a full 6 minutes, becoming a cult favorite for its sheer, over-the-top absurdity. They Live is packed with humor, paranoia, and biting social commentary. Its vision of a world secretly run by greedy, manipulative elites feels even more relevant today. The sunglasses become a perfect metaphor for seeing through the lies of advertising, media, and authority. At release, critics didn't know what to make of it, but fans quickly recognized a new cult classic. Its imagery, aliens in business suits, bold black and white slogans, has influenced art, comics, and even real-life protest culture. They Live proves you don't need a blockbuster budget to deliver a knockout punch to the status quo. Inner Space. Inner Space is proof that sci-fi can be funny, thrilling, and genuinely heartwarming all at once. Dennis Quaid stars as a cocky test pilot shrunk down to microscopic size and accidentally injected into the body of a hypochondriac grocery clerk, played by Martin Short. What follows is a madcap adventure through bloodstreams, nerve endings, and some of the wildest situations 1980s Hollywood could dream up. Director Joe Dante mixes cutting-edge effects with screwball comedy, creating scenes that feel both high stakes and hilariously relatable. Meg Ryan shines as the love interest, and the chemistry between the leads makes every outrageous twist land with genuine charm. The special effects were revolutionary for their time, earning the film an Academy Award and setting new standards for inner-body adventure. But the real secret sauce is how Inner Space turns high-concept sci-fi into a personal, character-driven romp. The film juggles action, romance, and slapstick without missing a beat. Though not the biggest hit at release, Inner Space grew into a beloved classic, influencing everything from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids to animated series about exploring the human body. It proved sci-fi doesn't always have to be serious. Sometimes, shrinking your hero down to size is the best way to make a giant impact. Starman. John Carpenter takes a break from monsters and paranoia to deliver one of sci-fi's most heartfelt films, Starman. When an alien visitor crash lands on Earth and takes the form of a widow's deceased husband, what could have been pure horror becomes a road trip romance full of wonder, sadness, and second chances. Jeff Bridges delivers a masterclass in physical acting, perfectly capturing the awkward innocence of a being learning to be human. Karen Allen's performance grounds the film in emotional reality, as the unlikely pair flee government agents and learn to trust one another along the way. The sweeping American landscape becomes a character of its own, framing their journey with beauty and danger. Carpenter's direction is gentle, letting the story breathe and the emotions settle in. The special effects, especially the transformation sequences, are still impressive, but it's the relationship at the film's core that sticks with you. Starman is about connection, forgiveness, and what it means to see the world through fresh eyes. It's a sci-fi fairy tale for adults, showing that the best stories about aliens are really stories about ourselves. The film earned Bridges an Oscar nomination and inspired a short-lived TV series, but its greatest legacy is the warmth it leaves behind. Enemy Mine. Enemy Mine is the rare 80s sci-fi film that's all about empathy and understanding. Dennis Quaid plays a human pilot stranded on a hostile planet after a dogfight with a Drac, an alien enemy, played under heavy makeup by Louis Gossett Jr. Forced to cooperate to survive, the two bitter rivals become unlikely friends. Director Wolfgang Peterson delivers a blend of survival drama, action, and honest-to-goodness heart. The alien world is harsh and beautifully realized, full of storms, strange creatures, and dangerous terrain. But the real drama is between the characters, learning to speak each other's languages, share cultures, and look past old grudges. Behind the scenes, production was famously troubled, with budget issues and creative clashes, but the end result is deeply affecting. The film's message about breaking down barriers and seeing the enemy as another person or Drac hits as hard now as it did in 1985. Enemy Mine didn't set the box office on fire, but its reputation grew over time, especially among fans of character-driven sci-fi. It's a reminder that great science fiction isn't just about battles in space, it's about building bridges, one unlikely friendship at a time. So there you have it, 20 sci-fi films from the 1980s that didn't just entertain but rewired the future. Which one warped your reality or made you see the world in a new light? Drop your favorite in the comments, and let's debate what really changed the game. Hit like, share, and subscribe for more journeys into the wildest corners of movie history, because the next classic might be hiding in plain sight.